Welcome to Getting Intimate with Intimacy. I am Jamie London Wollberg. My pronouns are he, they.
I'm Jayne, she, her.
And I am May. This is a space for deep exploration of the mind, body, and soul connection.
Getting Intimate with Intimacy covers consistent multimedia content spanning all forms of intimacy, from sexual to intellectual, and everything in between.
Our content is created for all beings, bodies, and abilities, age 18 and up.
And it can be enjoyed on YouTube as well as OnlyFans and InsightTimer. The links will be in the description on for our live streams.
We're really looking forward to experiencing the infinite layers of intimacy with you.
And remember, intimacy starts within.
Namaste, everyone. Welcome back to Getting Intimate with Intimacy, episode 11. Today, we are going to be answering the question, how can courage help build intimacy? My name is Jamie, he, they pronouns.
I'm Jayne, she, her.
And I'm May.
And we're so excited to be back here with you at, again, our newest time on Tuesdays. And we're going to dive right into it. May, how can courage help build intimacy?
Well, I have been reflecting on this today, and I came to the conclusion that real intimacy, this is from my perspective, can only happen through courage. Because for real intimacy to happen, either within yourself and maybe more especially with another human being, you have to step into the unknown. There is the most primitive part of you and the most socially human conditioned part of you doesn't want to do that. So you need to bring the element of courage for you to step into a higher version of yourself and an unknown world where anything can happen. So when you're not acting from a mental program in the unknown, it requires courage for you to be breathing into the unknown and sharing a space and time with another human being in the unknown. So for me, it's not only that it helps it's actually that is intrinsical for real intimacy, that is vital.
I totally agree with that. What do you feel, KJ?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a great topic because if we look at what is courage, right? Courage is the choice and willingness to confront the uncomfortable emotions, or as May said, the unknown. But it can be known. You can be just confronting your own, fear, pain, uncertainty, intimidation, right? And so then, and also it can be like showing strength in the face of all of that, right? And when you're saying, okay, I'm going to make this new choice, stepping into the unknown, yes, it intrinsically takes courage for sure. And so when we're talking about intimacy, we're talking about deepening connections, right? Whether that's within, whether it's on one of the mental, emotional levels we've spoken of, whether it's spiritual, physical, right? You're deepening a connection either with yourself or with others. And I think, yeah, that's that willingness that I just said. Like, it's the willingness to show up and to commit to an action step. Hey, I'm going to do this. And then you actually follow through. Yeah, we get it. There's a lot that we have to talk about.
Yeah.
That's what came up at first for me.
I'm so glad you brought that up as well. I feel like the link of what both of you were talking about has brought me to this clear awareness that we're all on the same page, that intimacy is not passive, right? One is not intimate by not setting the intention to be intimate. It is true that someone may perceive that intimacy is building between you and make certain meanings of certain actions and behaviors. But again, those are actions and behaviors. even them feeling an energy from you is you providing an energy exchange, right? Um, even like how previous episodes may have spoken to the stillness, the quietness, the sharing in quiet with someone else, and the intimacy that builds there. That's still an action. That's still intentional.
Mhm.
And so the courage is absolutely, I agree. It is something that goes hand in hand. And I think what's interesting here is it has me thinking about how this goes even beyond intimacy, right? Like ultimately, the majority of life is us having the courage to take an action. And the courage comes from not knowing how someone's going to respond. And again, as we always know, coming back to it being within and feeling unconditional love and that inherent desire of belonging, we are afraid to be rejected.
Yes.
So the intimacy helps us to reaffirm and confirm that we're belonging and that we're desired. And so that's where courage factors in. So it really is just an awesome soup of happening and experience here that like really can dive into so many things. May, what is courage to you? And when you feel courageous, what does that look like? When are you courageous?
It was such a synchronicity, dear, because as you were starting to speak, I was writing down this courage. No, that's intimacy and courage really require an intention. And it's actually, I agree, it's not an accidental thing, it's intentional. Because if not, if it wouldn't be intentional, the moment that you experience any form of discomfort or weirdness, you are instinctively programmed to get out of that situation. So that's what you would do. You would hide, you would remove yourself from the situation, you would put on a mask, whatever. What does it take for you to stay there in a moment of a part of you experiencing discomfort and another part of you wanting to stay there, being curious about what is this thing that is happening here that I am somewhat drawn into? And then the other part, well, I can dive deep into that, but ask me the question again so I can be more.
In short, what is courage and when
Okay.
do you feel courageous? But you're bringing up something super important here that needs
So
to
it
be
was connected. Okay. I think I'm fortunate in relation to courage. I see myself as a very courageous human being on a general level. And I think mainly it comes, what I was going to say is that I feel fortunate because I am so curious and I am so interested about the unknown and what is not seen, what is beyond and behind and underneath all the physical layers of our human experience. I'm so interested into that that level of curiosity is so strong that it helps me bring down any kind of wall that doesn't allow me to explore or to get where I want to go, what I want to see. And so the courage kind of maybe comes from that push, that very natural push that comes from me, at least in this life, or from my being in general, that it is more or less this way. And now that as a human being, I'm so conscious about the importance and the attractiveness of intimacy with others, because I'm not interested in any kind of superficial connection. I have to be courageous, and I know how positive it is to be courageous. I know it pays off. Even if I find myself in discomfort, when I don't reject unlovingly the discomfort, even the discomfort pays off because it gives me more information about myself or practice as to how to overcome it or transcend it or embrace it. So, in all possible ways, the courage um, I love it. It makes me also kind of it's a cocky kind of feeling where I like it. I mean, I think it's super cool. I find myself being much more attracted to being courageous rather than stepping back and not getting myself in any probable or possible messy situation. I like messy so long as I know that I'm safe. That's my basic. If I'm safe with whomever human being I am, I'm all in. Whatever happens, it happens.
I love that. I would agree you're very courageous. And I feel like for those who have watched all of our episodes, what you've expressed really sort of reveals the direct connection between all of the types of intimacy that we've talked about. And like I was listening to you and I was like seeing the pattern, and I totally see the flow of why we have chosen the episodes and felt called to speak about certain things, because it
Mhm.
really all weaves together, and we're going to continue that on. KJ, what is courage to you, and how do you feel courageous? When do you feel courageous?
Yeah. Well, I talked a little bit about what courage is, and um, a big part of it for me is when I follow through on a dream or a vision. That's when I feel courageous, because that's been a big part of my journey, is the choice to do something different, right? I got out of a cult 10 years ago. And so everything I'm doing is new to me.
Mm.
I've had to figure out who Katie Jayne is every step of the way, myself, mostly in my 30s. So when I decided that I was going to move from Seattle, my whole entire life that's rooted there, after 3.5 years in the same apartment, I'm going to make this massive shift. And I talked about it for a long time. Jamie knows a lot of I talked about it a lot on Clubhouse, in private, all over the place. And then there was a specific point where somebody lovingly lit a fire under my ass and was like, so are you complaining, or are you moving to Arizona? And then it's in your face, right? And we have those moments on a regular basis where all of a sudden the thing is in your face, and you've been saying you're going to do the thing, and this is the choice point. So when I take that step and I say yes, it's fucking uncertain. It's messy, like May said. It's liable to be a wild ride. When you step on the ride and say yes, that's when I feel courageous. And that can be in a situation like actually making a move happen like that, or saying yes to a new relationship experience, right? Even saying yes to a date. You don't know how that's going to go. You have no idea, but that's the point, is meeting up for an energy check, right? And you feel courageous even if it doesn't go the way you want. Even if you decide you never want to see that person again, you had the courage to literally put yourself out there, right? And so to me, that's when I'm putting myself out there in different ways, right? Then I feel courageous. I also feel courageous when I share my emotions with my partners, because that's not always, the majority of my life, I haven't had people willing to listen, right? Or willing to receive and to hold that space for me. So I'm really good at holding that space for other people, but it's courageous when I get to express myself, right? And maybe it's, I'm a mental processor, right? If I'm triggered, when I'm triggered, I usually need some time to step back from the situation, to sift through all the things in my very active brain, to even figure out my feelings, right? But then it takes courage to go back. Maybe this is a day or two or a week later, and I've expressed that I need time to process, but then you have to come back and actually talk about it. So that's another kind of courage that I've experienced a lot more recently. I'm blessed, I'm grateful. But that's been another step in my personal evolution, right? So when you choose to say yes, you choose growth, and that's courageous.
I love that for you. I resonate with the dreaming. I feel like what's really coming up for me right now is that, ironically, as intentional as courage is, it's really more so almost the desire of courage and the intention of intimacy. And why I'm saying this, at least for what I'm seeing for me and what I'm seeing as possible overall, is because courage, we don't say, I'm being courageous, I'm doing this thing. Like, we're courageous in the moment. The leading up to the courage usually feels terrifying, and we have the desire first. Then we are courageous, and then we realize after the fact, when it's over, that we were courageous, or someone says we're courageous. And how many of us have heard somebody say, "You're so brave, you're so courageous," and it just filters right in and out. Like, you don't believe it because courageous requires such a self-belief. So from this realization, I see that on a larger, wider zoom out, which is like very my thing these days, so bear with me. Wider zoom out is really that courageous is about being. And humans are courageous because as a soul, we have the desire to be human. And we go through the absolute terrifying moment by moment of being human. And after each moment where we've been courageous and we've spent being, we say we're courageous and we acknowledge our courageousness. And so for a moment, I just really want to honor everyone, because if you're here, most likely you are a human being and you're a soul having a human experience. And how amazing is that? That the courage that we're experiencing is every moment from choosing to be here, and how much empathy and compassion we can have, how much patience we can have for ourselves and for each other for doing that. Now, on a more of a zoomed in micro level, I would say that I go forth each day intentionally to be authentic. And as humans, we perceive authenticity based on where we are evolutionarily in emotional, mental, and the spiritual capacity. That's courageous, right? And especially in a world right now, being who I am openly is something that does require courageousness. And the fact that I choose to go through every moment, not embodying all of the fear that could be embodied within that, I just keep going. Like, so many times people close to me have said, like, stop wearing your Star of David when, like, anti-Semitism is at its height. And I'm like, no. My Star of David protects me, and it's a part of me, and I feel in alignment when I'm wearing it. And to me, it's even a greater symbol than what you're making it mean, which is not a small thing, but it's like a more thing. And so for me, I'm not going to remove that. I'm not going to stop posting and being open about my transness and being non-binary and all these things. I'm just not going to do that. So for me, moment to moment is courageous. And I would say that courageousness otherwise for me has always been the motto of doing it anyway. And right now, a lot of that looks like actually saying no. I've been saying no more than I probably have since I was like 13. It's really mind blowing, and people are having a lot of different reactions to my saying no to different things. And it's taking a lot of courage, because I know this is what is actually best for me, what I feel is best for the situation. And so I'm doing it anyway. And so remembering that courage, we might say courage is most associated with saying yes, because it so is. And at the same time, courage is also about saying no. And sometimes honoring your boundaries is a yes, and sometimes honoring your boundaries is a no. And sometimes honoring your boundaries is a yes and a no. So that is where courage is showing up for me. I wonder, May, how does courage impact the intimacy in your life? I know you started to speak a little bit to this, but can you go deeper?
So I was just reflecting on how I was just so recently challenged during my trip to Tanzania, where I found myself at some point, and after questioning aspects of myself that are rather new to me, that I have been in contact with just in the last 3 years, for example. And because of being surrounded with people who are not very open minded and have not done much of inner work, it made me go back to question aspects of myself, and being given internally the choice of, okay, do you want to continue to explore who you are and bring it out into the world, or you want to go back to fitting better in society and looking more like other people or most people in certain environments or certain countries or from certain religions or whatever. It takes, my choice is the first one. And for that, it takes a lot of courage to continue to explore who I am and to bring it out into the world, whether nobody gets it, nobody likes it, whether I have to reinforce the self-respect and the self-love for me to feel comfortable in society, being who I am, and even sometimes having to force yourself into labels that I don't like at all. But it seems like so many times you have to explain yourself. Oh, you are this or you are that. And then you have to explain, I don't see myself as this, or I don't see myself as that, or I don't think it's a. Sometimes I find it tiring, and the courage, I think, is just, we're going hand in hand in this journey. There is no other way. The spiritual journey, if you are not courageous, you cannot walk this path. And intimacy is the same. Is, for me, it's like the deep connection with yourself, with the creator, with other humans, other beings. It doesn't matter. So what first came to me when I was reflecting today was that courage is a time-bending element or energy. The moment that you decide to allow courage to invade yourself in a way, and you get yourself out of the mental program that you are unconsciously living from, you get into a different reality. You get yourself in a different reality, and you get to experience, even if in the slightest version of you, higher. From my perspective, if you took the courage to be more truthful, either by yourself or with others, for me is like really a step forward and higher into a more energetic, elevated version of you and another reality, therefore.
That just sort of blew my mind. I needed like what felt like a moment of silence. That is so fascinating.
You just dropped a bunch of gold nuggets.
Yeah, I need a beat. KJ, how do you what is your response to that? That is mind blowing. Like the time bending. I'm gonna have to think about this for a minute.
I love that.
Yeah, I love it so much.
I love that, of course.
Yeah, it brought me right back to Doctor Who. KJ, how are you feeling about this? How does courage impact intimacy in your life?
Yeah, I love this so much. Jamie, when you were talking, it just, what dropped in for me is throughout all of our episodes together, we've talked about love and of coming from a place of choosing love, choosing to move in love, choosing to believe in love, choosing to model love to yourself and others, right? And all of these are so intertwined. Because to love and to choose love takes courage. And if you want intimacy, you have to build with love, right? And so all of it is just a beautiful dance, as May alluded to earlier, right? Of all of these different, or pieces of a tapestry, right? Everything is so woven together. Excuse me. And so that's what I was thinking about, is those of us that know what it means to choose love, right? That is courage every single time. Because the way you were speaking, Jamie, you were talking about courage, like existing takes courage. In your experience, in my experience, existing as who I am now from versus who I was 10 years ago, absolutely takes courage, right? To stand in one's authentic truth and choose love. Every time we choose love, that's courageous. And it definitely impacts intimacy, right? Because the more that you have that intimacy with yourself, when you trust yourself to be courageous, right? That builds the intimacy. I'm intentionally making this choice to go on a date with somebody because I'd like more love in my life, right? And I did it. And then you have the courage to share yourself, right? To open up mentally, emotionally. That's courageous. Again, there's uncertain elements when you're sharing with a new person, right? A new soul, a new connection, whatever that looks like. And some of us, it's easier than for others. Some of us have practiced it more, right? Like I said, I'm really good at some things, and I'm not so good when it comes like much closer to home because of all the walls and the years of, programming of needing to keep myself hidden and separate, right? Or that I was separate, which is obviously the big lie. But so I think that the point of it being intentional is such a valuable takeaway today, because I didn't think about that, right, per se, until you brought it up. And I love that because it is intentional. And so when I set the intention for intimacy, I already know I have the awareness that it's going to take courage. And therefore, it's going to take energy. It's going to take output. But we've also all experienced the benefits and the rewards that come when we do that. So I think that's what it is. I don't think that I would have any of the intimacy that I so love and cherish in my life today if I hadn't had the courage to love myself and to choose myself, right? More and more. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's, to me, that's the whole game right there, is that choosing love is choosing yourself. And the only reason that we actually need courage now and perceive that we need courage now is because humanity has done this whole different weaving of existing and experience where we forgot that's where we come from, that's our autopilot.
Mm-hmm.
And for us to expand and grow, we created all this polarity and dichotomy where we have an opportunity to come back into it. And what I've realized is the purpose of this, in addition to expansion from a human perspective, is to love more, to love deeper, to love stronger, to experience what that depth can look like. Because the more is all we want. We want more of what feels good. And even when things feel disrupted, out of balance and all of these things, we can, like, sometimes that dysregulation is excitement, right? If you are in a neutral state of being and suddenly you get a surprise that excites you, technically you are out of the balance of neutrality and you are coming into a new balance and experiencing the increased wave. Imagine if we did not have any sort of dysregulation that brought the opportunity of expansion into a new wave of balance, we would never experience excitement. Not in the same way that we do. We wouldn't need all of these different words for all these emotions, because it would just be flat all the time. this is all would ever be ever again, right? So like it's really important for me. Absolutely, I think I've spoken a lot to how courage impacts my intimacy in my life, and again, it's that yes and no. There's always been this part of me, probably, thanks to the superpower of autism, where I haven't always thought. I'm much better about it now, and I like that. But I wasn't always thinking so clearly about when it's appropriate to go into a certain intimacy, what questions someone may or may not want to answer. It was really about timing and timing and phrasing was not always something that I had such clarity on. And that is super relevant when it comes to intimacy, because if you do not acknowledge the timing and where someone else is at and what they're ready to receive, then unless you're talking about intimacy purely with yourself, which we all know how I feel about that, most important. But when it comes to other people, you're going to hit their wall. And their wall's going to go, whoop, and it's going to rise right up as if winter is coming. Half of the world's winter's already here. And if you're a Game of Thrones fan, you're welcome for that. That inside joke there. But truly, when that has happened previously, it has brought me into a state of devastation, because I didn't get to increase the intimacy, and oftentimes it put things way back. And in very recent months, I have come to really understand and understand and overstand timing a lot more. And I'm not talking about time in terms of the concept of time. I'm talking about in humanity, how there's a timing of when people consent and feel safe to receive a certain information to go deeper. And if you want that, then those are things to consider. So my courage has come a lot from actually lately acknowledging, yes, I want this. Yes, I may want this now. It may not be the time right now. Maybe that's the way that I even want to go about it, a methodology, right? Speaking it out versus maybe sending a text message or writing a letter or doing like any number of things changes everything. It changes the result. So my courage has come from patience and from actually slowing myself down to acknowledge these things and to recognize that, having patience makes things worthwhile. I think it was KJ speaking earlier to like things, it's all worth it by being courageous, right? And sometimes courage, we may perceive that courage is an action that is quick or large or
in the moment.
in the moment, or confrontational, as KJ was speaking to the definition earlier. Courage is also about scaling back sometimes and waiting and acknowledging that courage can look like honoring someone else's courage and where they're at. And so that's a lot of where that's showing up. And holy crap, the results are so worth it. It is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Because I've seen myself in fast action, which to me, fast action in those cases meant like in the moment or in a couple of days. And then other things I've been waiting for weeks and weeks and weeks. And it's incredible because I've changed so much perspective. And just by thinking about these things, by choosing to be different and be patient, a lot of the things that I want are happening without me having to address it outwardly. So I encourage you all to take that and sit with that and see how that might resonate with you. But I see May, something is going on for May right now.
Yeah.
We're circling back to you. What can we do to tap into our strength and our courage, to strengthen our courage?
So I wanted to just add to what you just shared about courage, because maybe if we don't stop reflecting on it a little bit more, it feels like courage is always pushing you to move forward. Like there's action forward. And I was realizing more than ever out of your words that maybe it's not patience. Sometimes what we need is like the courage to be still, to not do anything. And when you are in an intimate moment, it actually, not to make a next move, not to force anything, not to hide, not to run away, not to nothing. It's just to stay there and breathe through the tension of a part of yourself trying to move past that moment, go backwards, go forward, and the courage to stay still and break some unconscious pattern as well that is always in the action kind of mode. I want to share with you how I'm challenged at this moment in life in relation to intimacy and courage. I come from a personal history of having to experience and hold for myself a lot of courage to be myself, be naked physically and metaphysically, and share myself with another human being in the most authentic way has taken a lot of courage from me. And now, where I feel really challenged by life is the courage to not continue to grow at a rather high pace because I'm not finding as many humans to go intimate with that are as deep as I am and are ready to meet me as deeply as I have met myself and as I'm ready to share myself with the world. So the courage for me now, I have identified this unconscious fear that I have. What if I do a tantric workshop program of a month and I come out even more deep, even more sensitive, even more conscious, even all of these things, and I'm already having troubles to meet men who can meet me at my level of intimacy from my perspective at least? There is an unconscious part of me that fears that my chances of meeting men at that level are going to get even shorter. So it takes courage for me to trust that when I go to a higher level of intimacy, that I can take myself to a higher level of intimacy, there's going to be other humans there who can meet me at that level of intimacy that I want.
Internally, I am streaking across the field naked with excitement because people, you can't understand the level of breakthrough that has occurred for May and simultaneously KJ right now. And I got to bear witness to the depth of it. But like, this is what is powerful about courage, right? Like when even just the courage to share these experiences, and I so appreciate your vulnerable share, May, because like KJ also and like and there are many people that needed to hear that, and sometimes we need to hear it not because we need it in the moment, but we need that confirmation of how far we've come, right? So like everyone can benefit from the value of your share, and I'm so elated for you, and I'm so excited for you to have this realization, because I already decided from like the day that you said, I'm going to take this Tantra course, I already decided that May's going to fall in love with someone. Like, and I was literally in the moment as I was listening to you sharing right now, I was literally like, if she doesn't get there, I'm literally going to offer her the perspective that she could fall in love and meet the person of her dreams in this tantric experience. And you got there on your own. And so I'm running across the field naked. I'm so excited for you. Truly, this is thrilling. This is thrilling. I'm proud of you.
I'm super open to that. And if it's not there, it could be immediately after, but I really want to remove this fear that the more conscious I become in terms of deeper connection with myself, the fear that there's who's going to be there if I'm already having trouble finding humans at my level of consciousness right now. But of course, I want to choose the optimistic and trusting path.
And doing that class, doing one tantra class can open up a whole new community to you. So yes, even if that person is not in that class, you're going to be immediately connected to more human beings that are on that level and that have resources, and that maybe there's regular gatherings or there's this group, and boom, there's the people that are on your level that are also seeking what you're seeking.
Absolutely. And this is why one of the decisions that I came to recently is that probably most of my savings or most of my investments are going to be in participating. It's not just one-time program. It's really investing money and living time in my life to connect with people who are very deeply on this journey, and especially people who value intimacy so much. So spirituality, yes, but for me, it's more particularly when the element of sexuality is also there, and the element of sensuality is also there. For me, in this life, it feels so important that I want to focus part of my life to take care of this in a way that not only I, for myself, take care of this aspect of me, but that I get myself into environments where I feel like I am at home with other people who have this depth, these desires, this sensitivity, and this passion for intimacy.
Oh my God, I'm having so many breakthroughs right now that are not related
share
to
one.
this, also related to this. No, but I want to like, I absolutely agree. And again, like the intention, right, that you're setting, and I think that this answers the question a lot. Is, you know, what can we do to tap into and strengthen our courage? Community. Find community. Share your story. Ask for support. That is, we are always stronger in numbers. That's what humanity has always been. That's why there's billions of us, of the one. We, you know, it wasn't just like, oh, this would be fun. Like, we were like, oh, there's going to be lots of challenges, and also we want to expand more. And if we all have a different perspective and we all meet up sometimes and connect, then that's going to expand upon that, right? We're deepening of the soul. And so to me, that's definitely how we tap in to our courage. And also, I would say feeding in to ourselves. What are your thoughts, KJ? What can we do to tap into and strengthen our courage?
Well, I just really loved what you said, May, when you said sometimes it's not patience when you're waiting, right? It's actually courage to hold a vision, right? It's courageous to hold a vision. And a way that you can do that is to continue to dream, right? That's what was occurring to me when we were talking about how can we tap into and strengthen our courage.
Mm-hmm.
You can dream, but you know it's not the right time, right? That doesn't mean you throw that dream out the window, right? It's not right now, but you have this deep knowing or feeling or desire to bring this into reality, right? Whenever it is divinely in alignment in your life. So it takes courage to continue to not only hold that vision, but to speak it, right? Or to revisit it, to dream more, to say, oh, you know, just let your imagination, whether people call it meditation, journaling, stream of consciousness, you know, if you have a dream into it, right? To continue to put that energy and to hold that space for that vision to occur, right? Granted, when you're talking about it's over years, of course it's going to change. Your perspective, like Jamie said, is going to change, but that's still courageous to continue to hold that vision, right? A personal one for me is like, I desire to have children. I'm 38 years old. I thought that was going to be a very different journey for me, right? And it's not that I'm incomplete without children at this point in my life, or that I can't have joy and and compersion for my friends and relations that do have children, right? That are having them before me, right? Whatever that means. Everybody has a different life path. And it's not like I'm giving up on having kids. I'm very firmly holding on to that. You both know I've spoken to it multiple times, right? I'm so excited to meet my future babies. And it takes courage, sometimes more than others. Like it's, it goes through cycles of my feelings around this vision, but I'm not giving it up. And the older I get in Earth years, the more courage that this particular journey will take, right? To, again, open to that experience whenever it shows up. So that's just a personal experience for me. But also, how do we tap into and strengthen our courage? Like Jamie said, it's finding community or putting yourself in a place to find community, right? Or speaking, sharing your dream, and then you find the community because your vibe attracts your tribe, right? You do have to put yourself out there. That's something we've been talking about this whole time. It takes courage to choose love, to hold a vision, to share your vision, to ask for help, to say, hey, where are my fellow weirdos at with the purple hair that don't care, right? Like, hey, so yeah, I really love this. This was wonderful. I'm looking forward to going back and re-listening to this one.
Yeah, we had a lot of breakthroughs. Let's tap into comments. We had just the one.
I only wanted to share, Katie, thank you for sharing that about motherhood. It was beautiful. Thank you, dear.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Thank you.
KJ, go over the comments here.
Yes, so we did have one comment. I don't know if he's still with us. Rev Lee that said the root of the word courage means from the heart.
Yeah, from Latin, yes.
I love that. Yeah, I think it is because we're following the heart. That leads directly to one of the breakthroughs I had, which is people have really been flustered with me about the title leader of love from a grammatical standpoint. And they've always been like, why is it of love? Like, aren't you a leader for love or like with love? And I was like, I don't know what to tell you. It's of love. And literally while I was listening to you, May, I finally understand why it has to be a leader of love. And it's mind-blowing. And it's because as like love is like the general, like, right? Like I am a leader of love. I'm a leader for love. I am one of love's leaders. Like leader, like love leader. Love is in the entity and essence of everything, right? And so I am a product of that, the way I am of the world, right? And I am supporting the world and in leading that remembrance of love. So it's so funny because so many times people have been like, you are a soldier. And I am like, I am not violent. And like, I see now, I understand it from a different perspective. So, we're all having that courage. I love that. Lee, that was like a total confirmation because I was not going to bring that up. And then that comment, I was like, okay, yes, I've got to bring this up. And actually, it really leads in to what we have coming ahead because seriously, we are going to be building up more content. We've started to be talking about more things, but we have a really exciting episode next week where it's our 12th episode. For those who are familiar with the numerology of 12, it is so awesome. And it makes total sense that on this episode, we would be talking about balance. So we're going to be answering to the question, how does the balance of your divine masculine and divine feminine energies impact your intimacy? And you better believe we all have so much to talk about on that. There's definitely going to be multiple episodes that we are going to be touching upon this and going deeper and deeper. Remember, you can please follow us and subscribe. Here, I will also stream across. Again, this is our webpage. From this, you can access everything. Our OnlyFans, where we put the majority of our content outside of YouTube. Our InsightTimer information and all the other socials that are there. We really want to spread this intimacy. So get intimate with intimacy because that's how you're going to expand into your being. And we can't wait to see you next week. And remember that intimacy starts. We love you unconditionally, my friends. Namaste.
Thank you so much.
See you soon.
Bye.